Imagine waking up one day, and everything you know is gone. That's exactly what happened when the world suddenly fell apart. Out of nowhere, massive towers and dark dungeons appeared, unleashing terrifying monsters upon humanity. While the whole globe suffered, the Korean peninsula became a living hell, hit harder than anywhere else. It became infamous for endless waves of monsters that were stronger and deadlier than in any other country. But in that crushing darkness, a brilliant light was born. We called them heroes. With their power, humanity fought back. Corporations saw the chaos as a chance for profit, and slowly, the towers and dungeons were brought under control. South Korea didn't just survive, it thrived, rising alongside the US to become a global superpower where heroes from all over the world gathered. To keep this peace, they built Cube, the ultimate training ground for the next generation of legends. Now, here is the twist that changes everything. This history, this world, it wasn't created by some mysterious god. I know this because I made it. I am the author. The world I scribbled into a novel is now unfolding right in front of my eye. I'm standing in the middle of Cube, watching the very characters I created breathe and live. First, there is Kim Suho. He's the cadet in first place, talented, handsome, and destined to save this chaotic world. He has a righteous heart and holds a secret he's never told a soul. He is the absolute main character. Then, standing in his shadow, is Shin Jongha. He's second place, a wealthy heir with potential that rivals even Suho. But beneath that exterior lies a deep inferiority complex. I wrote him to be a villain to the bone, destined to fight Suho like darkness fighting the light. Seeing them confirms it. This really is my novel. But that leaves one terrifying question. Who am I? If I'm in my book, I must be someone, right? Suddenly, a classmate asks, Chundong, did you sleep late last night? I freeze. Kim Chundong? I rack my brain, but I don't remember ever writing a character with that name. Desperate, I try to recall my face, but my mind draws a blank, just a giant question mark. And then, the crushing realization hits me. I haven't become a hero. I haven't even become a villain. I've turned into a character I never even bothered to describe. I have no set appearance and a dusty, old-fashioned name. I am a extra, a nobody meant to fill up the audience seat. I am just a speck of dust in my own story. The story takes us back to the moment everything went wrong. It wasn't a magic spell or a truck accident, it was just an email. Our protagonist received a message from a stranger asking to remake his novel, The Returned Hero. He had stopped writing that book over 6 months ago because of a creative slump. Thinking it was just a weird but dedicated fan, he replied, all right. He thought nothing of it. But that simple yes was the trigger that pulled him out of his reality and dropped him here. Fast forward to the present. It has been 2 weeks since he woke up in this world. He confirms his worst fear. This is definitely the novel he wrote, but his existence is a nightmare. Every time he looks in the mirror or a reflection, he doesn't see a human face. He sees a floating, glowing question mark. He is currently Kim Chundong, an extra so insignificant that the world hasn't even rendered a face for him. The weight of the situation crushes him. He realizes that the story he wrote spans about 10 years. Is he really expected to survive a decade in a dangerous fantasy world, mingling with superpowered teenagers, while looking like a punctuation mark? He decides he can't just wait around. He needs to find a way home. His best bet is to follow the main story until the point where he stopped writing. He heads to Cube, a massive man-made island in the heart of this world. It's a futuristic city of magic and industry where 50,000 people live, including the elite cadets training to save the world. He arrives at his classroom, Veritas. This isn't just any class, it's the center of the plot. The hero, the villain, the rivals, and the supporters, they're all here. He realizes he is stuck in the eye of the storm, surrounded by powerful characters who will soon start fighting for dominance. Exhausted after a day of classes he barely understands, he returns to his dorm room. But waiting for him is a mysterious package labeled Cube Delivery. He opens it, expecting school supplies. Instead, he finds his own laptop, the one he used to write the novel. As soon as he touches it, the screen glows. A system message appears, initializing synchronization. The system begins to overwrite the extra Kim Chundong with the author, Kim Hajin. Data streams across the screen, showing his stats, strength, intelligence, luck, all the settings he personally wrote for his characters. The synchronization hits 99%. The system grants him a special power, a unique authority that fits him perfectly. Suddenly, the question mark masking his face shatters. He gasps for air as his true face is revealed. The system announces that his stats have been reset. He is no longer just a background character. The synchronization is complete. The author has officially entered the game. The transformation is complete. Staring into the mirror, the floating question mark is gone, replaced by his actual human face. But with his face comes a new power: enlightenment. In this world, this is an awakening that lets him see the invisible mechanics of reality, his status window. He looks at his stats and realizes the harsh truth. Compared to the characters he wrote, he is incredibly weak. However, he has a secret weapon. He possesses a unique authority called setting intervention. This power allows him to modify the world's settings using SP story points. He discovers a locked file in his system labeled undisclosed information. The system tells him this information, likely the clue to returning home, will only be revealed when the main story finishes. He realizes the system is forcing his hand. He can't just hide in the dorms for 10 years. To earn the SP he needs to survive and unlock the truth, he has to intervene in the plot and increase his importance in the world. He has to play the game. He decides to use his starting resources immediately. In his novel, leveling up doesn't exist, making stats incredibly hard to raise. So, he decides to dump his resources into the most broken stat of all: luck. Luck in this world isn't just about finding items. It influences money, relationships, and daily survival. He converts his points into SP and pours 9,000 SP directly into luck. The result is instant. A mysterious luck effect triggers, boosting his luck stat to a staggering 9.1 out of 10. This is higher even than the main protagonist's magic power. But the world realizes he's cheating. An error message pops up warning of a significant impact on probability, and the system immediately patches the glitch, banning him from ever raising luck with SP again. He managed to secure a god-tier stat just seconds before the developers closed the loophole. The scene shifts to the classroom. The intimidating instructor, Kim Suyik, introduces himself and lays down the law. Cube is not a playground, and those with bad grades will be cut. The first order of business is choosing a main weapon. This is a critical decision because, once chosen, cadets cannot switch weapons for at least 6 months. The main characters confidently pick their swords and bows, but Kim Hajin hesitates. His physical stats are too low to wield traditional hero weapons effectively. He needs something that doesn't rely on muscle, something he knows how to use from his old life on Earth. The other students gasp and whisper as he makes his choice. In a world of magic swords and supernatural powers, he walks up and grabs a modern firearm. The instructor looks at him with skepticism. Cadet Kim Hajin, is that your weapon of choice? Holding the handgun, the author has made his first divergence from the script. He isn't a warrior or a mage. He is going to face this fantasy world with a gun. The atmosphere in the armory shifts to one of tension and disbelief as the instructor, Kim Suyik, questions Kim Hajin's decision to wield a gun. Although Hajin had trained with a sword at the military academy, he firmly states his decision to switch, prompting a stern warning from the instructor. At Q, cadets are free to make their own choices, but they must bear the full weight of the responsibility that comes with them. As Hajin walks away, the other cadets whisper in confusion, wondering if he is crazy or simply an attention seeker for picking such a notoriously weak weapon. In this world, guns are considered third-rate because their damage is fixed regardless of the wielder's strength, and they lack the deep historical origins and mythical power found in artifacts like swords and spears. Despite the public scorn, Hajin's choice is a calculated strategic move. He knows that as an extra, with no combat experience, he cannot compete with the physical prowess of the other cadets using traditional weapons. A gun is something he can use immediately, and the very act of choosing such a controversial weapon helps him stand out, which allows him to farm valuable story points, SP, needed to modify the world's setting. While the other students rely on their innate gift, supernatural abilities that define a hero's potential, such as Kim Suho's legendary Sword Saint gift. Hajin realizes he needs to manufacture his own advantage to survive. Later, Hajin heads to the fitness center, where he runs into Chae Nayun, a key character and skilled archer. She is busy complaining about another student who uses a gun, dismissing him as a failure who is just stalling for time before dropping out, reinforcing the stigma Hajin now faces. Unfazed by her comment, Hajin seizes the opportunity to use his setting intervention authority on his laptop. He spends 10,000 SP to write a new gift for himself called Deadeye. The system automatically refines his input, granting him a growth type ability that includes proficiency with all ranged weapons, clairvoyance for tracking targets, and a bullet time ability that slows down perception for 3 seconds. Armed with his new gift, Hajin feels ready to face the grueling curriculum of Q. The narrative jumps to the classroom, where the instructor announces the 4-person teams for the upcoming practical training. The teams are designed to balance high and low-ranking cadets, mixing warriors, sharpshooters, and supporters. Kim Hajin sees his name alongside Yoo Yeonha and realizes that everything is proceeding exactly as it did in his novel. While there are many lead characters designed to clash with the protagonist to drive the story forward, Yoo Yeonha is special. Hajin reflects on who she is, the successor to the prestigious Yoo family and the top candidate to inherit Korea's #1 guild, essence of the straight. In the first half of the original story, she is a rival to the protagonist, Kim Suho, but she eventually transforms into one of his strongest supporters. Hajin knows that building a connection with such a pivotal character is crucial because involving himself in the main story is the only way to earn more story points. SP. Determined to make his mark, Hajin decides he must attract her attention during today's training and approaches her, trying to act casual. However, Yoo Yeonha's reaction is icy. She completely bypasses him and turns to the other two team members, Jin Hosung and Hazuki, greeting them with polite formality. Finally, she acknowledges his existence as the last member, but she doesn't even bother with a proper greeting, simply glancing at him and saying, "You are." Hajin begins to psych himself up, not wanting to ruin Yoo Yeonha's first impression of him since she despises people who lack confidence. But the moment is ruined when one of his teammates immediately recognizes him not by name, but by his controversial choice of weaponry. "You're the kid that chose a gun for a weapon, right?" he asks, pointing out that he has already become famous among the first years for that very reason. Before he can respond, an instructor creeps up from behind and scolds the group for idling, asking if they are free enough to be chit-chatting when they should be focusing. The team springs into action, leaving the academy grounds and heading toward their designated training zone, with Yoo Yeonha taking the lead and informing them that they will receive full information on their target once they reach the area. The journey to the battlefield highlights a harsh reality for Hajin. Despite his stats being decent enough to be considered above average, he finds himself gasping for breath, barely managing to stay on the tails of his teammates. He realizes with a shock that the average standard for a cadet at Cube is incredibly high, and while he struggles physically just to keep up, the others seem to move with ease, reinforcing the gap between an extra and the elite. Finally, the team arrives at their destination, the 8th coast, where the view opens up to a vast blue ocean. The serenity is quickly shattered when their target emerges from the water, a massive creature with purple skin and menacing tentacles identified by the system as the Black Hump Octopus, a low intermediate grade monster that is now staring them down, ready for battle. Yoo Yeonha breaks down the true danger of the Black Hump Octopus, explaining that while the massive beast itself isn't overwhelmingly strong, the real threat lies in the humps on its head. When the monster feels threatened, it launches dozens of baby octopuses from these sacs. These aren't just distractions but lethal parasites that latch onto victims and suck them dry, turning a healthy human into a withered mummy in a single second. Yeonha creates a plan centered entirely on this threat, but her orders carry a stinging undertone for Hajin. She decides that the warriors must hang back and conserve their magic power to deliver a single, decapitating blow to the main body, which possesses powerful regeneration ability. This leaves Hajin, the sharpshooter, with the dirty work. He is solely responsible for picking off the dozens of deadly baby octopuses before they can overwhelm the team. Hajin realizes immediately that this isn't just strategy, it is exclusion, as she is essentially telling him to handle the trash while the real heroes wait for the glory kill. Despite his annoyance at being treated like a sidekick, Hajin knows he has to play his part. Yeonha signals the start of the operation with eyes that are cold and focused, and the team springs into action, their first objective being to drag the fight out of the water. "Lure this thing to the shore," Yeonha commands. The plan works as the massive purple monstrosity is baited toward the beach, crashing through the waves as the team retreats to solid ground. As the chaos unfolds and the monster prepares to unleash its swarm, Hajin readies his weapon, clicking his tongue in frustration at Yeonha's arrogance but remaining determined to survive the swarm she has left him to deal with as the training battle officially begins. The battle begins instantly and violently. The Black Hump Octopus doesn't wait for the cadets to get comfortable. It launches a ferocious assault, spewing its deadly minion, the baby octopuses, onto the beach. The shoreline turns into a chaotic war zone as the team scrambles to defend themselves against the swarm. Amidst the panic, Yoo Yeonha proves why she is ranked 7th in Q. She moves with grace and lethal precision, her whip tearing through the air and obliterating the monsters in her path. She radiates power and confidence, anchoring the team's defense against the overwhelming numbers. However, the battlefield is unpredictable. In a split second of vulnerability, a baby octopus slips past her defenses. It launches itself straight at her face, a lethal attack that could turn her into a dried-up husk in moments. A teammate screams, "Yoo Yeonha SSI, watch out," but it's too late for her to react. A single, sharp gunshot cuts through the noise of battle. Before the monster can latch onto Yeonha, it is blown apart in midair, exploding into a mess of purple ink. The smoke clears to reveal Kim Hajin, kneeling in a perfect shooting stance, his gun leveled at where the monster just was. His face is calm, betraying none of the fear expected of a low-ranked cadet. Internally, Hajin calculates his move. He knows that story points, SP, only increase when his importance in the world rises. As a nameless extra, the only way to survive and gain power is to forcefully intervene in the main character's story, just like he did now. Instead of gratitude, his action is met with shock and anger. His teammate, who had dismissed him earlier, screams in disbelief, "Kim Hajin, I thought I told you to stay be." With his cover blown, Kim Hajin ignores his teammates' confused shouting and locks in. He quickly scans the battlefield, realizing that the conditions are perfect for him. The enemy count is low, and their movement paths are predictable due to their low intelligence. He decides that this is the moment to unleash his full potential. He activates his created gift, bullet time. The world slows to a crawl. For everyone else, only 3 seconds pass, but for Hajin, time stretches, granting him absolute clarity. He sees every tentacle, every lunge, and every vulnerable spot of the baby octopuses. He doesn't panic, he simply aims and fires. Bang, bang, bang. A symphony of gunshots rings out as he systematically obliterates the swarm, picking them off one by one with terrifying precision while the rest of the team can barely register what is happening. As the effect of bullet time wears off, the results are undeniable. The swarm that threatened to overrun them has been reduced to ink and dust. With the minions gone, the main body of the black hump octopus is left wide open. The team seizes the momentum. Attack, comes the command. The warriors, Jin Hozung and Hazuki, leap into action, using their magic liberation to deliver devastating strikes to the monster's unprotected head. Under the combined assault of the warriors and Yoo Yeonha's whip, the massive beast finally collapses, dissolving into light. The battle is over. As the team catches their breath, Hajin lowers his gun, utterly exhausted from the mental strain of his gift. The system calculates their performance. Team 5's clear time, 58 minutes and 58 seconds. They have cleared the round, placing them in 16th place, a humble rank, but a successful survival nonetheless. The results of the practical training are displayed on the screen, delivering a crushing blow to Yoo Yeonha's pride. Her team, Team 5, has finished in 16th place with a time of 58 minutes and 58 seconds. For someone of her standing, this is unacceptable, but the sting is made worse by the leaderboard. Team 2, led by her rival Chae Nayun, has secured 4th place. Yeonha is left seething, internally questioning why she had to fall so far behind someone she intended to surpass from the very beginning. She realizes that the gap she wanted to create between her family and Chae Nayun's is widening in the wrong direction. However, knowing she must maintain appearances, she suppresses her anger and approaches her rival with a cheerful, high-pitched greeting. Chae Nayun turns around, not realizing the malice hidden behind the greeting. "Ah, it's you, Yeonha," she replies casually. She immediately brings up the sore subject, complaining that her team only got 4th place and that she wanted to beat the top rankers. When she asks Yeonha for her result, Yeonha is forced to admit through gritted teeth, "I got 16th place." Nayun's reaction is immediate and dismissive. She laughs in disbelief, blaming Yeonha's poor score entirely on Kim Hajin. "You got 16th place with a gunman? That's insane. It would have been lucky if that didn't slow you down," she says, assuming the extra was nothing but dead weight. However, Yeonha surprises her. Instead of agreeing to save face, she corrects Nayun. She admits that while Hajin's lack of mobility did cost them time on the route, his combat performance was undeniable. On the contrary, he pulled more than his weight during the monster battle that followed, she states firmly. She recalls the image of Hajin obliterating the swarm of baby octopuses before they could even touch the ground, a feat so precise it left her questioning if such a thing was even possible with a standard gun. Meanwhile, oblivious to the girls discussing him, Kim Hajin collapses in the training room, utterly exhausted. He finally has a moment to check his system logs, which are flooding with notifications. His gamble paid off. Luck was active during the fight, exponentially increasing his accuracy against low-rank opponents and ensuring every attack was a bullseye. The system rewards him generously. His gift mastery increased by 20%, his perception rose by 0.03, and he earned 27 SP. On top of that, the physical exertion boosted his strength, stamina, and health, with mana mysteriously permeating his torn muscle fibers to accelerate his growth. Later that night, Yoo Yeonha sits alone in her room, obsessively reviewing the drone footage of the battle. She watches the moment Hajin opened fire, analyzing it frame by frame. The data doesn't make sense. In exactly 2.78 seconds, he fired 60 bullets. Her mind races to find a logical explanation. Is it even possible to pull the trigger 20 times within a second? She wonders, suspecting the gun might have had an automatic trigger modification. As she digs deeper, the mystery of Kim Hajin only grows. His reflexes are extraordinary, yet his physical health stat is strangely lower than the other cadets. As Yoo Yeonha digs deeper into the mystery of Kim Hajin, she hits a wall. She tries to recall seeing him at the Agent Military Academy, but her memory draws a complete blank, as if he never existed. Her train of thought is interrupted by a message from Shin Jong-hek, the top-ranked cadet and her rival. When she tells him she is analyzing the battle video, he immediately scoffs at her team, calling them trash. Yeonha, however, finds herself defending the very person she was just doubting. She texts back that the gunman could pull his own weight and is suitable enough for his low rank. Jong-hek dismisses this instantly, replying that Hajin must have just gotten lucky. Yeonha stares at the screen, unconvinced. She knows what she saw. Extraordinary agility and a sudden weapon change was far too complex to be mere luck. The scene shifts to the headquarters of a top-tier guild, Creator's Sacred Grace. Vice Captain Yoon Sung-ga is reviewing the drone footage from the practical exam. Her attention is initially captivated by the star of the show, Kim Suho. She watches his movements with awe, describing his swordsmanship as a dance that seems to cut through space itself. She is so impressed that she immediately resolves to recruit him, declaring she wants to bring him to her guild no matter the cost. But as the video plays on, her eyes catch something unexpected: a cadet wielding a gun. Sung-ga's subordinates identify him as Kim Hajin, noting he has become a topic of conversation for being on Yeonha's team. Sung-ga looks closer at the data and realizes the terrifying truth behind his luck. He didn't use an automated function. In exactly 3 seconds, he manually fired 60 bullets, landing 59 of them on target. She notes that even if his agility allowed him to pull the trigger that fast, a standard handgun shouldn't have been able to handle the recoil. To the guild, this isn't just skill. It is an anomaly they label as unorthodox. Sung-ga deduces that Hajin's sudden switch from a sword to a gun is the result of enlightenment. She explains that this phenomenon occurs when a person suddenly realizes their true gift. Since gifts are unknown until this awakening, some cadets find that their original weapon no longer matches their true talent, forcing them to switch path. However, this is a massive risk. Changing a main weapon sets a cadet's career back by at least 3 years. While she is impressed that he achieved enlightenment at the young age of 17, she decides that being limited to a gun makes him less attractive as a recruit. She chooses to leave him be for now, concluding that if he is truly a pearl buried in mud, he will shine on his own eventually. The chapter closes with Hajin sleeping peacefully, unaware that he has already caught the eye of the major powers. Wednesday brought the dreaded anti-personnel practical training. Unlike standard drills, this required cadets to pair up to fight. But because Kim Hajin was ranked at the very bottom in 934th place, he was the odd one out. His opponent turned out to be the instructor himself. To make matters worse, the instructor announced that since the training guns were still being manufactured, they would be fighting for real. Realizing he was about to face a trained professional without any handicap, Hajin immediately raised his hand and screamed that he surrendered, admitting he could not do it. The instructor, however, was merciless, shouting that there is no surrender in the real world. Despite his amateur posture, the instructor is surprised to see that Hajin is following every attack with his eye. This is thanks to his clairvoyance skill, which allows him to see long distances and predict a target's movement. Still, Hajin finds it frustrating because even with the skill, he has to do all the physical dodging himself. Nearby, other cadets watch and mock him, calling him obnoxious. But for Hajin, this is exactly what he wants. A notification shows his story points have increased by 40, proving it is efficient to act like an attention seeker to farm points from side characters. Later, Hajin spots Yoo Yeonha at a vending machine and decides to run a small experiment. He knows from the story he wrote that she secretly loves common people food like Coke, ramen, and burgers, but she can never buy them herself because she is worried about her reputation. He offers her a drink as a token of friendship, claiming she carried him in the last session. She reacts coldly, telling him not to speak so casually to her. But as she walks away, she realizes he secretly snuck an extra can into her bag. She calls him a lunatic, but his experiment to gain story points from a protagonist is a success. Hajin realizes that to truly earn points, he needs to stop having short conversations and start intervening in the main story. He identifies the next big event as the demonic human ambush at the National Weapons Museum. Demonic humans are people who have traded their souls to demons for great power. In the original novel, the protagonists Kim Suho and Chae Nayun defeat the threat, and Suho gains the interest of several main characters. Hajin knows the enemy is not a huge threat yet since it is only the beginning phase of the novel, so he resolves to find a way to join the museum group and change the script. At the Cube Academy, Clubs are extracurricular activities where cadets organize independent gatherings for self-development and social interaction. There are over 100 unique clubs, and Kim Hajin decides to join a travel club called Healing Rain. The club president, Yoo Yeonha, is amazed by the incredible people who applied this year. The objective of the club is simply to rest, and they use a portal once or twice a month to travel outside of the academy. For their first orientation, they head to a destination very close by, Seoul. This aligns perfectly with Hajin's original novel, as he plans to be at the National Weapons Museum for the start of the first main story arc. To organize the trip, the cadets draw lots to form groups of 2, and Hajin is paired with Yoo Yeonha. She immediately suggests they move separately and gives Hajin a second warning about speaking to her too casually, stating there will not be a third chance. Hajin agrees and heads to the museum, which houses the largest collection of weapon replicas in Korea. There, he spots the main characters Chae Nayun and Kim Suho. Hajin approaches Suho, who is admiring a 7-branched sword. Suho is friendly and remembers Hajin as the sharpshooter who chose a gun, even though his name briefly slipped his mind. Suddenly, a warning blares that monsters have appeared outside the museum. Panic breaks out as visitors rush for the exits, pushing and trampling one another. Chae Nayun steps in to calm the crowd, warning them that they will become food for the monsters if they leave now. She orders the cadets to grab weapons and stand guard until a professional hero arrives. Amidst the chaos, an ominous figure appears, a demonic human known as the Dog of Lucius. Hajin knows this villain is supposed to be the foundation for the protagonist's growth and expects Suho to defeat him easily. However, as the confrontation begins, something goes wrong, leaving Hajin in total shock. The situation at the National Weapons Museum spirals into chaos as Kim Hajin realizes the plot he wrote is failing. In his original novel, the protagonist Kim Suho was supposed to struggle only briefly before unleashing his power to dominate the enemy. Instead, Suho lies on the ground, barely conscious and unable to fight. The demonic human proves terrifyingly strong, tanking volleys of attacks with his bare body without even needing to regenerate. Chae Nayun tries to hold him off, but she is overwhelmed. Oh no! Dodge! Chae Nayun! I scream. Nayun! Suho shouts. He rushes in to block the attack. Hey, are you okay? He asks. I should be the one asking you, she replies, but is cut off by the sound of impact. The demon looks surprised as Suho holds his ground, but suddenly, the pressure increases. His body changed? Suho realizes with shock. Suho is overpowered and knocked back. Seeing Suho down, Chae Nayun draws her bow and fires an arrow to save him, but the demon ruthlessly deflects the attack and strikes her. She screams as she is thrown against the wall with a heavy crash. It is a disaster. At this rate, someone will die. I wrote the novel, so why are things not happening the way I wrote them? Damn it. For now, I should do what I can. I can't even make a dent into that demonic human with these bullets. Mana bullet. Non-attribute. Attack damage 2.5. It is impossible to inflict a critical hit even if I raise attack. But as long as this is the world within my novel, understanding the attributes is key. The important settings shouldn't have changed. Then modifying the setting of Mana Bullet. Changing of Mana Bullet attribute. I spend 104 story points to change the attribute. I select Light attribute and increase the attack power to 6. The system asks, would you like to modify? Yes. Save. This is why this world needs many different kinds of heroes. I am sure that demonic human is a dark attribute. The attribute that burns darkness is light. Kim Suho. Move. White light bullet. Light attribute. Attack 6. A bullet infused with the essence of light creates a second eruption inside of the body. Enough thinking. The white light bullet detonates, filling the hall with blinding energy. The demonic human screams as it is torn apart. Kim Hajin collapses to his knees, gasping for breath, thinking, I've bought enough time, right? Through the smoke, Kim Suho steps forward. With the power of a sword saint that can cut through anything, he delivers the final strike, ending the battle once and for all. Suho immediately rushes to Chae Nayun's side. Nayun, are you alright? He asks urgently. Hajin watches them from the shadows. Without realizing it, he speaks his thoughts out loud. Just leave her be. Her brother will be here to comfort her soon enough. Since that's how it goes in the novel. Suho and Nayun free. They definitely heard him. Nayun, struggling through her pain, looks up and asks, what did you just? But before she can finish, she is overcome by nausea and pain. Nayun, Suho shouts, his attention snapping back to her. Taking advantage of the distraction, Hajin quietly slips away. Outside the museum, the battle against the monster horde has ended. A subordinate rushes up to Yoon Sunga, the vice captain of the Essence of the Strait. Vice captain, is this enough to wrap things up here? The urgent situation outside the museum has come to an end. Sunga wipes her blade and smiles. That's a relief. What's the situation inside the museum? The subordinate reports, a demonic human appeared, but was immediately killed. Thankfully, there were 3 cube cadets inside. Aha, how admirable. Who are they? Sunga asks. After hearing the names, she sprints off. How lucky. To think I'd get a chance to approach Kim Suho in a place like this. What should I talk to him about? Just then, she spots a male cadet walking out of the museum entrance. Ah, just in time, she thinks. She approaches him with a bright, friendly smile. Hello, you're a cube cadet, right? Perhaps. Before she can even finish her sentence, Hajin interrupts her. Kim Suho is inside. He walks past her without another word. Sunga instinctively replies, "Oh, thank you," but then she freezes. She turns around, staring at his retreating back in total confusion. She thinks to herself, wait, how did he know I was looking for Kim Suho? Hajin walked away, exhausted and worried about the changing story. He opens his laptop and remembers the terrifying truth he had forgotten. This novel has a co-author. A notification pops up. A critique from the co-author reads, there aren't any threats that can harm the protagonist. It risks boring the readers. Hajin stares in horror at the remedy, decided to raise the level of the enemy characters, even if it becomes utter chaos. After the chaos at the National Weapons Museum, Kim Suho and Kim Hajin sit on a bench, exhausted from the battle. An instructor orders them to return to the dorms, explaining that Chae Nayun has already left on sick leave to be with her family. As they prepare to leave, Suho stops Hajin and asks why he mentioned Nayun's brother earlier. Hajin tries to play it off as if he does not know what Suho is talking about, but the tension between them is clear. Back in his room, Hajin looks at his laptop to review the character settings he originally wrote. In his original novel, Chae Nayun was a trustworthy hero and a strong supporter of the main character. However, a new notification appears on his screen titled One Critique. The system informs him that the plot has been changed because there were too many supporters for the protagonist. In this new reality, Chae Nayun was branded with a demon mark during his very first mission. Hajin reads the grim details of the modification. Nayun has become a demon seed, a human host for a powerful demon that will eventually germinate and emerge. While Nayun lies in a coma in hospital room 802, the incubation period is already halfway through. Nayun visits her brother and holds his hand, completely unaware that he is no longer the person she remembered. Hajin realizes that if the demon wakes up, it will cause a catastrophe that the current heroes cannot stop. He cannot hire a mercenary to kill a member of a powerful family, and there are no visible signs to report the danger to the authorities. Staring at his screen, Hajin accepts a heavy burden. To save the future and protect the story, he decides that he must be the one to kill Chae Nayun before the demon awakens. While Hajin deals with the weight of his decision, elsewhere, eyes are already turning toward him. Inside a restricted data archive, the Vice Guildmaster, Yun Seong-ah, is digging through the records of the museum ambush. She discovers something the official reports missed: traces of light attribute mana on the demonic corpse. She knows Kim Suho and Chae Nayun are accounted for, but there was a third cadet involved, rank 934, Kim Hajin. She does not know who he is yet, but she is determined to recruit him. Back in the cube, Hajin discovers a new feature on his laptop called Setting Change Occurrence. It alerts him instantly if the situation around him deviates from the original novel, but he does not have long to test it. Chae Nayun corners him, demanding a spar. She taunts him, asking if he is scared, but Hajin deflects with a cold excuse. He claims he does not want to hurt a classmate with live ammunition. Before Nayun can explode, an instructor intervenes. She scolds Nayun, telling her Hajin cannot spar with others since he uses a weapon. Nayun storms off in rage. His internal monologue turns dark. He reminds himself that he cannot get close to her. His goal is to kill her brother, and being her friend will only make the eventual betrayal worse. Hajin attends the orientation for the academic club, Veritas. The president, Yoo Yeonha, is charismatic and charming, captivating the audience. But Hajin sees the truth. Yoo Yeonha is a villain, a demonic human who has contracted with a demon to gain the gift of captivation. He is the reason Hajin joined this club. He is the next target. During the session, Yoo Yeonha brings up a high-level monster, the Mountain Tyrant, and asks Yoo Yeonha about its vital point. She admits she does not know. Sensing an opportunity, Hajin approaches Yeonha after the meeting, asking her if she's going to the party, but she ignores him and walks away. He strikes a nerve, mentioning her internal political struggle against her vice guild leader to secure her succession. He offers her a trade. He tells her the Mountain Tyrant's secret weakness is a small blue mark on the back of its heel. The price for this information is a gun from her guild's armory, the Desert Eagle. Yeonha demands proof, but Hajin gives her none, simply walking away and leaving her with a choice. Moments later, Yeonha makes a call to her raiding team. She passes on the tip about the heel. She has taken the bait. Hajin has just secured a connection with the woman who will one day be known as the Queen of Seoul. Kim Hajin wakes up to a nightmare, not a monster but a notification from Cube Bank. A debt of 300 million won hangs over his head. The previous owner of this body, Kim Chundong, borrowed the maximum amount allowed for a Cube cadet and blew it all. Now instead of finding a way home, Hajin is staring at a life of debt slavery. He needs money fast. He knows which guild stocks will skyrocket in the future, but he lacks the capital to invest. The only option left is field hunting. But there is a massive problem because his stats are barely better than an average civilian. How is he supposed to hunt monsters when he can barely lift a sword? Just as he hits a wall, a lifeline arrives in a package from Yoo Yeonha. It is the reward for the information he sold her about the mountain tyrant. Inside is a weapon that bridges the gap between his weak stats and the dangerous world outside. Hajin heads to Wonju, a low-danger field known as the International Metropolis. While looking for a party, he spots a clumsy man dropping his business cards. Hajin freezes because he recognizes that name, Park Soo-yeok. In the original novel, this man becomes the best agent in Korea and the trusted partner of the protagonist, Kim Suho. Park Soo-yeok is currently a nobody struggling to find clients, so Hajin sees an opportunity. By signing a contract with him, now he secures a powerful ally for the future. They enter the field together and Soo-yeok plays it safe, suggesting they hunt hobgoblins for a few $100,000 won. But Hajin has a bigger target inside a steel boar. Soo-yeok panics, warning him that a mere gun can never penetrate the boar's steel-like skin. He thinks Hajin is going to get them both killed, but Hajin ignores the warning. He draws the Desert Eagle, a high-grade artifact. He adds a custom setting using his SP to boost its power. One shot is all it takes. The steel boar is obliterated instantly and Park Soo-yeok can only stare in disbelief because this cadet is no ordinary rookie. Kim Hajin is a total mystery, even though he claims it's nothing. His shooting skills and that incredible gun leave his partner, Park Soo-yeok, completely stunned. Hajin's vision is even more terrifying. He can spot a black pelican over a distant cliff as if it were only a hand's stretch away. After the hunt, Soo-yeok handles the heavy lifting while Hajin focuses on his next move. Instead of spending his reward money on gear, he decides to invest it all in stock. He targets a small guild called the Packhorse Master. As the original author of this world, he knows that after they raid the Suwon Demon Den, their stock value will explode by nearly 1000%. It is an easy way to make a fortune while he plans his next move against the main villains. Hajin realizes he is the only person in this world who knows the secrets of the Chameleon Troop. Even though they are a criminal organization, they despise demonic humans, which might make them the perfect tool for his ultimate goal, killing Chae Nayun. However, his plans are interrupted when his laptop suddenly begins a forced update. Panic sets in because this device is his only hope of returning to his own world. A full month passes while the system processes, leaving Hajin in the dark while the rest of the world continues to move without him. Meanwhile, at a high-end cafe, Shin Jong-hak is having a private meeting with Yoo Yeonha. Jong-hak is clearly irritated, complaining about how sick he is of these noble society gatherings. Yeonha tries to calm him down, telling him to bear with it for the sake of making connections with the leaders of society. She asks how his grades are, mentioning that the Jong-hak she knows has to be #1 to be satisfied. This strikes a nerve, and Jong-hak snaps back that his grades are fine. Their conversation is cut short when Chae Nayun arrives. Jong-hak immediately asks her how long she has been attending these gatherings, but Nayun ignores the sentiment, coldly stating that if she knew he was coming, she would have skipped it entirely. Despite the cold greeting, Jong-hak tries to show concern by asking if she is okay after her time in the hospital. Nayun brushes him off, telling him not to overreact, and shifts the conversation to a more pressing matter. She asks the group if they know Kim Hajin, recounting how he shot off a demonic human's arm with just a handgun during the museum incident. She finds him incredibly suspicious and even wonders if he is a demonic human himself. Yeonha reveals their investigation shows he is just an orphan with 300 million won in debt, yet his ability to find a monster's vital point remains a total mystery. As they resolve to keep investigating him, Hajin's update finally reaches 99.9%. The chapter ends with a searing pain as a stigma is engraved onto Hajin's skin. This mark represents the authority of the creator and floods his mind with information like a tsunami. Along with this new power, his laptop grants him a low-grade gift called the Book of Truth. This evolution strengthens his ability to observe and read the world around him, giving the extra a dangerous new edge in a story that is quickly spiraling out of his control. The dust from the museum incident has settled, but the tension between the cadets is high. At the award ceremony, Kim Hajin sat clutching his wrist. "My wound from yesterday still hurts," he thought. Beside him, Chae Nayun annoyed just being in the same proximity. Nayun let out a sharp click of her tongue. She snapped immediately. Hey, shut up. Hajin glanced at her. I didn't say anything. Nayun frowned. So what? I said shut up. Did you forget? Hajin asked. Forget what? Nayun looked away, her face flushing slightly. I saved you. Nayun's expression remained cold. This and that are different. Nayun snapped. Both of you, stop. Change seats with me. Kim Suho says, trying to intervene. I don't want to. Nayun refused to move. Kim Suho finally gets in between them. Hajin stared forward, tuning them out. Kim Suho turns to Hajin, thanking him for his help earlier. But Hajin was already over it. I wonder. I think you guys would have won without me. Without me, you might have awakened an even stronger power. Because the main character always gets stronger in the face of danger and hardships. Hajin thinks to himself. Suddenly, a massive wave of magic power silenced the hall. Purple lightning crackled as Yoo Yeonha, the supreme hero, entered the stage. He looked annoyed. Making me come and go. How annoying. He was the 37th place in the supreme hero ranking. He called the award recipients up. When he reached Kim Suho, he paused. Are you Kim Suho? I can see why those brats want you. Suho bowed. I am flattered. Sehyuk leaned in, his voice dropping to a serious whisper. Do not ever join the association. It might even be a better choice to work as a hunter under vast plain. Heroes have a shit ton of responsibilities and no fun. Suho smiled, undeterred. But I still feel like I am fit for a hero. As the ceremony ended, Chae Nayun rushed up to Sehyuk, her face beaming. Master, it has been a while. Sehyuk looked at her with pure annoyance. Why the hell am I your master when you are an archer? Your father asked me to look after you, but I have no interest in looking after you at all. Nayun froze, crushed by the rejection. Hajin stepped up next. Who are you? Sehyuk asked. Cadet Kim Hajin. Sehyuk stared blankly for a second, then turned away. Oh, okay. As the hero walked off, Hajin sighed internally. They say indifference hurts more than hate, and I see why. Later, Hajin sat in a cafe to check his rewards. 15 million won and some major laptop upgrades. He opened the interface. Update notes listed stigma and laptop internet access. First, the stigma on his arm. The text read, the stigma can be used as Kim Hajin wishes. Hajin frowned. The instructions are vague. It says I can use it however I wish. As I wish. He moved on to the internet access. It displayed a list of restricted sites, including the Violet Society. This is the real deal, Hajin thought. The Violet Society is an underground economy for information and weapons. The entrance fee is usually huge, but for me, it is just 200 SP. Confirm. Just as he finished signing up, a shadow fell over his table. Ah, here you are. Hajin looked up to see Yoon Sunga standing there, looking sharp and elegant. Do you know who I am, Cadet Kim Hajin? I was surprised you suddenly disappeared at the ceremony. She slid a business card across the table. It read, Vice Captain Yoon Sunga. I wanted to give you something. Hajin stared at the card. There is great significance in her offering me this, he realized. Sunga smiled. There is something I am curious about. Can I ask you a question? Hajin knew exactly what was happening. This was the first step of a scouting offer. Yoon Sunga seems kinder than anyone in the eyes of the press, but her real personality is quite different. She adheres to the law of the survival of the fittest like an animal in the wild. Knowing this, Kim Hajin decides that if he makes connections with her now, it will help him later, but only if he plays his cards right. When she asks him a question, he shuts her down immediately, saying he has nothing to tell her. He thinks to himself that she only came to him out of simple curiosity after seeing his light attribute attack. He needs to reject her for now so that her curiosity turns into genuine interest later. Back in his room, Hajin tests his new authority called Stigma. He discovers that the mana infused in the Stigma can be used however he wishes. He visualizes a dagger, and a blade of pure magic materializes just by him thinking about it. Next, he tests the Book of Truth, which promises to answer any question his magic power permits. He asks it for his height, and the book confirms he is 174 centimeters, consuming 1 SP in the process. Suddenly, an emergency notice appears looking for a cadet who has last seen Jin Hajong. Hajin realizes the story's second arc has begun. It is the Cube serial murder incident, where 6 cadets go missing. The culprit's last target is Yoo Yeonha. Hajin decides that if he intervenes without thinking, the story might change too much, so he chooses to watch for now. Later at the gym, Hajin struggles to lift a barbell. Other cadets mock him, asking if he got into Cube through money and claiming he is shaming the school. Kim Suho watches the scene, and despite his friends telling him not to get involved with Shin Jonghak's lackeys, Suho steps in and yells at them to stop. The tension is broken when the instructor announces the quiz result. Hajin worries that he failed, thinking he is screwed. However, the posted list shows Kim Hajin in first place, Rachel in second, and Shin Jonghaek in third. Hajin realizes he secured the top spot because he knew the settings of the world. Meanwhile, Rachel is in shock. Whether the test was big or small, the Princess of England had never been out of first place since starting school. Princess Rachel stares at a royal portrait, the heavy burden of England's honor weighing on her heart as she privately apologizes to her people for the pressure she feels. Meanwhile, the atmosphere at Cube is electric after an instructor reveals that Kim Hajin's exam answer sheet provided a revolutionary new perspective on phenomenon realm analysis. Rachel and the other cadets are left stunned, wondering how a guy like Hajin usually studies to achieve such a feat. Hajin, however, is focused on the future. He decides to use his Book of Truth to register as an information broker at the Veritas Center, hoping to earn both credibility and some extra pocket money. Realizing that the academy is no longer safe from demonic human, Hajin decides to invest his accumulated synchronization points into his own survivability. He spends 250 points to upgrade his Desert Eagle handgun, giving it the ability to transform into a high-powered sniper rifle. Not stopping there, he spends another 350 points to acquire the parkour art, granting him the swift movement and positioning skills essential for a sharpshooter. His preparations feel timely when he receives a group text about another missing student, realizing with a grim heart that a second victim has already fallen. The cadets soon gather at the outdoor training hall for a special joint exercise involving an artificial dungeon filled with monster puppets. The instructor explains that teams from the Veritas and Discipline classes will combine for a massive dungeon raid. Hajin is assigned to Team 8 alongside Yoo Yeonha and Jaden, but as the groups form, the system alerts him to multiple setting changes. A student named Yoo Yeonha becomes far more bad-tempered, while another named Sven suffers a mental collapse that makes him dangerously vulnerable to demonic encroachment. Looking at the chaos unfolding, Hajin realizes that this training mission has just become a total catastrophe. The dungeon examination was about to begin, but Kim Hajin was focused on assessing the threats around him. There were two people he had to be especially careful of. The first was Jaden from Team 8. He was a typical narcissist who acted strong around the weak but cowed before the strong. Even though he had been scouted by Essence of the Straight, Hajin's laptop showed his potential hadn't grown much at all. Jaden was already showing his arrogance, introducing his team while dismissively ignoring Hajin. But the second person was far more dangerous. It was Sven from Team 3, a government-funded international student from Germany. Sven had been elite his whole life, but at Cube, faced with monstrous talents, he had become just another average cadet. Overwhelmed by inferiority, Sven had made a desperate choice to sell his soul to a demon. As Hajin checked his laptop, a warning flashed that Sven's mental state had worsened and the likelihood of him becoming a demon pawn during the raid had dramatically increased. Before they entered, Jaden cornered Hajin on the rooftop. He brought up the nasty rumors spreading through the academy, claiming Hajin was using his position to blackmail others and sneaking off to Seoul for debauchery. Hajin knew exactly who started those rumors but ignored Jaden's taunt. When Team 8 finally entered the artificial dungeon, they were immediately faced with a crossroads. Jaden asked their sharpshooter for direction, but Hajin stepped in and firmly stated they should go with path number 6. Although Jaden was annoyed, the team decided to trust Hajin's eye. Hajin had chosen this path for a specific reason. It was the same route Chae Nayun had taken. He knew that if Sven transformed into a demonic human here, Chae Nayun wouldn't be able to handle it alone, and he couldn't let the story get messed up by her death. As they moved deeper into the dungeon, Jaden couldn't let his grudge go. He kept complaining that he couldn't deal with Hajin's damn attitude. Hajin interrupted him, calmly asking why he wasn't focused on the monster right in front of them. Jaden and the team were confused, looking around wildly and asking what monster he was talking about, since they couldn't see anything. But Hajin, utilizing his gifted eyesight, had spotted a salamander that was blending perfectly into the environment. He explained it was a dungeon switch, a monster that mirrored its surroundings. To prove it to the blind team, Hajin fired a light arrow, exposing the beast. The sudden appearance of the grade 5 salamander sent the team into a panic. Jaden screamed seriously and frantically yelled for battle formation, desperate to know if anyone could use water attribute attack. While Jaden lost his composure, Yoo Yeonha stepped up. She didn't try to overpower it with brute force. Instead, she used the orthodox method. She lashed out with her whip, wrapping it tightly around the salamander's snout and binding its jaws shut so it couldn't breathe fire. With the monster neutralized and unable to attack, the rest of the team rushed in together, knocking the beast down in a coordinated strike. As the monster fell, Hajin's attention was drawn by a blinding flash of electric light. It was the aftermath, the battle involving Yoo Yeonha. Hajin watched Yeonha in awe. A faint electric light still crackled around her, confirming she had already reached the eve of enlightenment state. She was truly impressive, but his admiration was cut short by a sudden movement in the darkness. Without thinking, Hajin threw himself at her, tackling Yeonha to the hard ground. Yeonha was furious. She shoved him off, her face red with annoyance, and hissed at him to let go. Hajin scrambled back, thoroughly embarrassed by the awkward position, but he knew he had no choice. She started to curse at him, but then she froze. Embedded in the wall right where she had been standing was a poison arrow. Hajin hadn't attacked her, he had protected her from a silent assassination attempt. However, Chae Nayun's team had not been so lucky. Earlier in the dungeon, they had faced the exact same ambush, but they didn't have anyone to warn them. A poison arrow flew from the darkness and struck one of Nayun's teammates. The victim collapsed, gasping for air as the neurotoxins took effect. Panic erupted as Nayun screamed at her injured teammate to get up and run if she had the strength to talk. They couldn't believe the training involved real poison, but their horror only deepened when a massive, corrupted monster appeared from the shadow, proving this was no longer just an exam. Kim Hajin and his team are in the middle of a skirmish, their weapons flashing as they cut down waves of monster. Explosions ring out as they clear the area. The dust settles, the team takes a moment to regroup. One teammate remarks that the fight was more or less easy, as they were mostly dealing with weak enemies like peanut flames and basic salamander. However, the mood is tense. They discuss how they have not encountered any traps yet, except for a single arrow earlier. Kim Hajin analyzes the situation silently. He focuses on the arrow that hit their teammate. It was coated with a neurotoxin called lethalite, a poison that causes silence and paralysis. Hajin is suspicious. To think that not even the heightened senses of a cadet could detect the arrow means something is wrong. He wonders if this is really just a trap for training, or if something more dangerous is happening. Suddenly, Hajin senses a massive spike in magic power. A searing red light floods the cavern. He looks up and spots a creature charging up an attack. It is a salamander, but it is far stronger than the ones they fought before. The creature unleashes a devastating breath attack, a beam of concentrated fire that roars toward the team. The other cadets are frozen, unable to react in time. Kim Hajin knows he has to act. He steps forward and activates his stigma. He commands the magic power of the stigma to transform into a wall of water. A massive torrent of blue water erupts from his hand, crashing into the salamander's fire breath. Steam explodes outward as the two elements collide, neutralizing the attack completely. As the steam clears, the team stares in shock. The sheer power displayed was enough to graze and burn them even without direct contact. They realize this was not a simple training puppet, but a real monster capable of lethal force. However, the relief is short-lived. Jaden stomps forward and grabs Hajin by the collar. He is furious. He screams at Hajin, asking if he was asleep earlier when the team was desperately searching for a water attribute user. Hajin calmly deflects, lying that the water was just a special effect of his magic armament. Jaden refuses to believe it, shouting that such a powerful item is impossible. Yoo Yeonha steps in to break up the fight, urging them to keep moving. But as she turns away, she analyzes Hajin's lie. She knows a weapon that can block a breath attack is incredibly expensive. In her mind, she calculates that Hajin cannot even afford a basic Desert Eagle, so there is no way he owns such high-level gear. She begins to suspect that he is hiding his true identity, wondering if he is secretly a demon human. The team, led by Chae Nayun, finally reaches the deepest part of the dungeon. There, they face a despairing sight. A massive magma golem, an intermediate grade class 5 monster, stands before them as the dungeon boss. They realize instantly that they cannot defeat it, especially with their current injury. They decide to retreat into the shadows and wait for reinforcements. Hidden away in the dark, the team tends to their injured comrade, Sven. The neurotoxin from the poison arrow is destroying him from the inside. He is sweating profusely and writhing in agony, feeling completely useless to his friends. As his consciousness begins to fade, a dark, seductive voice whispers to him from the void. It asks, "Child, do you not wish to become stronger?" The demon preys on his deep insecurities and his fear of being weak. Broken and desperate, Sven whispers back, "I want to become stronger." The deal is struck. Dark energy instantly explodes from his body, consuming him completely. Sven's screams echo through the hiding spot as the dark energy consumes him. The team is panicked. Chae Nayun, realizing the danger, shouts at the others to come hold him down, trying to stop him from hurting himself or them. But the commotion has given away their position. A massive, glowing eye peers into the darkness. The magma golem has found them. Before they can react, The monster opens its mouth and unleashes a torrent of lava and fire directly at them. A desperate cry rings out to run away as the entire area is engulfed in flames. The dungeon is in chaos as a massive golem unleashes a barrage of attacks, leaving the cadets scattered and broken. Amidst the smoke and debris, Chae Nayun struggles to catch her breath. She thinks to herself, there is no way this thing is a puppet. I am going to die in a place like this. Then suddenly a bullet fires at the monster. Standing in front of it is Hajin with his Desert Eagle pistol. Just a few minutes earlier, Kim Hajin and his group had hit a dead end. One of the cadets, Jaden, complained, "Hey sharpshooter, you said we would be able to see the boss field past here, but it is blocked." Hajin replied calmly, "It is here. The boss field should be past this wall. There was not a wall here earlier. Try breaking it. Do you think you are the boss?" The cadet argued back. The cadet strikes the wall with a magic-infused weapon, but it bounces off harmlessly. He screams in frustration, "There is no way this thing is going to break." A slash filled with magic power did not work. Another cadet, Hazuki, points upward to a small opening high up the wall. "Ah, there. We can go through there. There is a gap." Hajin agrees. The cadet looks at him in disbelief. "What the hell are you saying? This wall is over 10 meters high. How are we supposed to climb it?" Hajin asks. "You can't? Then I will go on ahead." Activating his art, Hajin scales the vertical surface with unnatural agility. Watching from below, the cadet wonders, is he some kind of cat? Back in the boss room, the situation is critical. The golem has the cadets pinned, but suddenly a shot rings out. Hajin shouts, "Chae Nayun, wake up and move." Chae Nayun snaps out of her fear. Internally, Hajin is terrified and thinks, "Save me," but out loud he commands the group, "Battle formation." The cadets attack the golem with spears and magic, but the attacks deflect. One cadet yelled, "What the hell? It will not even budge." Chae Nayun prepares a powerful arrow attack and yelled, "Guys, buy me some time. Just a bit more." Just as the golem prepares a fatal strike, a figure bursts into the fray, blade shining. Sven lands on top of the golem, slashing it and weakening its defense. Then Nayun fires a powerful arrow and blows off the golem's head. The massive magma golem lies in ruins, defeated. The cadets can barely believe it, asking if this will count towards their score. When asked how he killed it, Nayun jokes that it was a little something called a finishing move. While the others celebrate, Kim Hajin analyzes the situation, realizing that Sven has not been completely demonified, but the plot has been altered. Suddenly, Chae Nayun approaches him looking awkward and stammers out a thank you. Hajin is shocked because he knows her backstory. Chae Nayun's life was riddled with tragedies, losing her mother at age 6 and training to death instead of playing. She rarely thanked anyone because he wrote her character to be closed off. Back in the present, Nayun asks why he lets bullies harass him if he is strong enough to stop a golem. She mentions seeing the power of his gun. Hajin claims it is a private weapon. Nayun worries he will get expelled, but he assures her he can hide it and only use it when he needs it. She suspects he has a gift that strengthens firearms, and Hajin goes along with the lie. Before leaving, she asks if he has anything to say to her, but he coldly says he does not. Internally, he decides he must maintain an awkward relationship with her because eventually he has to kill her brother, Chae Jinyun. An announcement suspends the raid, and Hajin realizes the demonic humans who've taken up the cube executive seats are covering up the incident with the real monsters. Later, Hajin prepares for the worst-case scenario regarding Sven. He notes that the side effects of a contract with a demon include hypertrophy of emotions and obsession. Hajin realizes Sven has developed an obsession with Nayun and fears he might go berserk while alone with her. He hacks Nayun's messages and sees that the group is going to a hunting club in Gangwon-do. This matches the original plot where Sven goes berserk, so Hajin decides to follow them to the Mount Gari dungeon. Suddenly, he receives a phone call from Kim Suho asking if he has time on Friday. Mount Gari in Gangwon-do is known as the Mecca of training for martial artists due to its pure spiritual energy. But not everyone here is a fighter, as some roam these mountains searching for buried treasure. A man named Kim Yeonjun lectures Hajin, saying, "You have just been looking at a map since earlier. You will not find a single ginseng root that way. You have to read the flow of the mountain like me." Hajin replies disinterestedly, "I am not a ginseng digger. There is a place I am looking for." The man laughs at him, calling him a newbie, but then Hajin immediately trips over a root and finds a ginseng. Hajin is actually chewing on a 7-year ginseng root. He used setting modification on it to increase his variable stats. He realizes he would have earned at least 700 million won if he sold it, so it is a bit of a waste. He reaches a high cliff. In the middle of the cliff lies an undead dungeon. The boss of the undead dungeon is a formidable intermediate grade 1 monster known as the Death Knight. Hajin explicitly admits that even with the temporary stat boost from consuming the 7-year ginseng root, He is currently no match for such a powerful enemy. Consequently, he decides not to fight it today, noting that his true objective is actually the dungeon's hidden state rather than the main boss. Inside, Hajin fights through skeletons using his desert eagle. He is approaching Evangel's abode. The Witch Evangel is the hidden boss. In the future, she will set up the worst undead fortress in history. Hajin needs to kill her now to get 2 items: the growth-type weapon Ether and Evangel's seed. He enters the cave and sees a small child-like ghost. He feels guilt knowing he was the one who created her, but he knows she must be killed while incomplete. He unleashes his stigma, turning light attribute magic power into a spear. He thinks, "Ginsengs are pretty good. I feel like I have become Yoo Yeonha." He strikes the witch. She survives the first blow and unleashes dark energy but eventually fades away. Hajin acquires the items. Evangel's seed contains the soul of the witch. Ether is a formless weapon that grows alongside its master. Having equipped his new weapon, Ether, Kim Hajin checks his status window and is immediately impressed by the result. The attachment effect of the weapon has increased all of his variable stats by 0.6. Seeing these numbers, he realizes that he can finally call himself a proper cube cadet. He also notes that he has accumulated 47 SP, and since he invested his remaining ginseng into the Violet Society, he expects it to sell soon. However, his attention quickly shifts to his most important earning, Evangel's seed. The item description reveals that this seed contains the soul of the Witch Evangel, and if it sprouts, the Witch of Despair Evangel will be born. Despite her ominous title as the Witch of Despair, Hajin is confident that she will become a powerful ally if raised correctly. The growth condition is unique. Instead of water, the seed requires a small amount of blood. Hajin muses that this is simple, but he must be careful because the witch's nature and tendencies will change depending on whose blood she is fed. He briefly entertains the idea of asking the elite Veritas class candidates for their blood, only to imagine them looking at him with disgust and calling him a pervert. Deciding to put the seed aside for now, he resolves to sleep early, knowing he will be extremely tired tomorrow. The narrative moves to the following day at the Byukpa Mineral Spring in Gangwon-do, where the hunting club, Leonidas, has gathered for their regular Thursday activity. The club leader reminds everyone that their objective is to hunt harmful animals to help citizens as a hobby and for public interest. As the activity begins, Hajin reflects on the original plot of the novel. In the original storyline, this event was merely a plot device where the character Sven goes berserk as a demonic human, severely injuring Chae Nayun and dying in the process, all to make the protagonist Kim Suho care more about her. However, Hajin notices a disturbing change. Sven's setting is different from the original work. He hasn't gone berserk yet, but he is subtly using the power of a demon. Hajin wishes he could eliminate Sven right there and then, but he pragmatically concludes that he would obviously lose if he fought him in his current state. Unaware of the danger, Chae Nayun notices Hajin glancing in her direction. She misunderstands his vigilance, wondering why he keeps loitering around her while acting like he doesn't care, leading her to suspect that he might actually like her. Taking advantage of Hajin's presence, Sven leans in and warns Nayun to be careful of that guy, implying Hajin might be connected to the recent disappearances. Nayun, however, dismisses the accusation entirely. She defends Hajin, stating that he isn't the kind of person to do that, before following Sven into the woods to begin the hunt. Deep in the woods, the reality of Sven's nature is revealed as he kills a deer using dark, shadowy tendrils. Later, Nayun finds him and confidently claims she won their hunting bet, only to be shocked when Sven reveals a massive pile of dead animals behind him. Admitting defeat, Nayun asks what his wish is for winning the bet. Sven, blushing, stammers out his request. "Please, go out with me." Hajin's narration explains that Sven has contracted with the demon of lust, Asmodeus, amplifying his desires beyond control. Nayun rejects him instantly, asking if he would accept a confession from someone he hasn't even known for a week, and adds that she only likes guys who are stronger than her. This rejection snaps Sven's sanity. His face twists into a demonic expression as he asks, "If that's the case, then you'll come to like me if I'm stronger than you, right?" Before launching a lethal attack. Just as the shadow tendrils are about to strike Nayun, Kim Hajin intervenes. His weapon, Ether, transitions into a shield form, blocking the blow. Hajin is immediately grabbed by the neck and lifted into the air by Sven's tentacles. While strangling Hajin, Sven ignores him completely, staring obsessively at Nayun and chanting, "I love you, Chae Nayun," over and over. Even as he is being choked, Hajin analyzes Nayun, noting that she is a character with great potential who is limited because she chose a weapon that doesn't fit her. He marks her as the greatest of all such characters. The chapter concludes with Chae Nayun, enraged by the sight of Sven strangling Hajin, concentrating a massive amount of magic power and screaming, "Let him go. "You son of a bitch." The chapter opens in the aftermath of a massive explosion, with Chae Nayun coughing amidst the clearing smoke. Kim Hajin asked her if the attack she just unleashed was a lightsaber. Nayun, looking dazed and confused, admits she doesn't know what happened before collapsing. The scene shifts to nightfall, where Hajin is carrying Nayun down the mountain because she refused to wake up. When she finally regains consciousness and demands to be put down, Hajin complies, but Nayun immediately realizes her legs are numb and useless. Hajin explains that she is experiencing magic power exhaustion, a state where magic power recovery halts due to extreme depletion, meaning she won't be able to walk for around 2 days. As he carries her again, Hajin asks if she intends to keep using the bow, causing Nayun to snap at him. Internally, Hajin reflects that Nayun unconsciously unleashed her true gift today, a power that could make her a supreme sword capable of massacring army, and believes that to reach her potential as an overlord of the battlefield, she must abandon the bow. Hajin eventually drops her off near the portal customs to avoid missing the dorm curfew and walks away, leaving her sitting on a bench despite her angry protests. News quickly spreads across the academy that Chae Nayun was attacked by Sven, a student from the universe class revealed to be a demonic human. Hajin arrives at room 303, where the people of importance, Kim Hajin, Shin Jonghae, Yoo Yeonha, and Lee Yonghan have gathered to discuss the incident. A flashback reveals that Yoo Yeonha invited Hajin to join this secret, culprit tracking mission, because Chae Nayun recommended him for his exceptional eyesight. Back in the meeting, Kim Suho smiles warmly at Hajin and says, "Thank you for coming." Hajin accepts the gratitude, thinking to himself that since he can get SP from this mission, it is entirely his pleasure to help. "Since everyone is here, let's begin," Suho announces. He starts by sharing his theory regarding the recent incident, stating that he doesn't believe the culprit is the same demonic human that attacked Nayun. Shin Jonghae interrupts, furious not at the theory, but at the fact that Suho called her Nayun. Chae Nayun. Suho corrects himself and continues. Anyways, she posits that Sven failed his mission, and therefore, another demonic human contracted to the same demon will surely target Chae Nayun next. Do anyone have any suspicions about students acting strangely? Kim Hajin immediately answers the question in his own mind. He thinks to himself that he knows exactly who the culprit is. However, he has chosen to remain silent until now because he believed that recklessly calling him out would be dangerous. Instead, he has been waiting patiently for the culprit to expose itself. However, unlike in the original work where 6 victims appeared in the span of 2 months, 3 people have gone missing in the span of just 2 weeks. At this pace, it is highly likely that even more victims will appear. I don't want to just watch as danger looms over them just for a reason like waiting for the story to develop. I have one person in mind, the academics club leader, Yoo Yeonha. Kim Hajin says suddenly. He has an alibi, Suho replies, immediately dismissing the accusation. He explains that they already investigated the people who were close to the first victim, and Yoo Yeonha was cleared. Hajin presses the issue, asking, what if the victim herself went to Yoo Yeonha on her own accord? The group scoffs at the idea, asking if he is suggesting that Yoo Yeonha lured a trainee with mere mental magic, insisting that there is no way such a thing is possible. Hajin concedes that their doubt would be valid if it were regular mental magic, but before he can explain further, Yeonha cuts in. Finding his persistence odd, she narrows her eyes and remarks, "It's strange. You've been suspecting someone who we've clearly said has an alibi." She then turns the suspicion back on him, stating, "Compared to the club leader, I think the chance that you're a demonic human is higher." She argues that while the club leader, Yoo Yeonha, has a solid alibi, Hajin's claim of using a portal is suspicious because such records can be easily fabricated. The confrontation escalates rapidly when Kim Hajin steps in with aggressive intent, suggesting that the most efficient way to handle the situation is to break Hajin's back, reasoning that extreme pain will force him to either confess or transform if he truly is a monster. Hajin laughs in disbelief and stands his ground, calling Horik a crazy fucker and threatening to pierce a hole through his forehead if he tries anything. Kim Suho immediately steps in to de-escalate the situation, shouting for them to stop fighting and telling Hajin to calm down as well. Hajin tells them that if they are so suspicious, they should just ask Chae Nayun for the truth. Before Hajin can finish explaining his whereabouts, a ball is violently thrown at his head, interrupting him. The object was thrown by Shin Jonghae, who was in the room and seething with jealousy at the mere mention of Nayun's name. Shin calls Hajin an insect and demands to know why Nayun's name is coming out of his filthy mouth. Hajin manages to explain that they worked together to kill a demonic human when she was attacked, but this claim of intimacy only makes Shin Jonghae angrier. Yeonha coldly reiterates her stance to the group, stating, "Anyway, I told you who I think the culprit is, maintaining her suspicion on Hajin. Realizing that his words are falling on deaf ears, Hajin turns his back to the group to simply walk away. However, Kim Hajin interprets this withdrawal as an admission of guilt and an attempt to flee. He shouts, "Hey, are you running away?" and immediately launches a powerful ambush attack from behind. To the shock of the room, Hajin senses the attack and effortlessly dodges the strike from the martial arts gift user, leaving Horik stumbling. Deciding he has had enough of their aggression, Hajin draws his gun, aiming it with cold precision. Just as the situation threatens to turn lethal, Kim Suho steps in to physically separate them, ordering both Horik and Yeonha to stand down and insisting they verify the truth with Nayun directly. The tension breaks when a message arrives from Nayun, angrily confirming Hajin's alibi and shattering Yeonha's theory. Cleared but emotionally exhausted, Hajin leaves the training center and walks alone into the night, spiraling into a deep depression about his trapped existence in his own novel and his longing for his parent. As a system notification mocks him by increasing his perseverance stat, Hajin laughs bitterly, noting that the system is killing the mood, but admits the stat increase cheers him up a bit, giving him the resolve to keep living when his past self might have committed suicide. Back at the training center, Kim Suho goes out to look for Hajin but returns alone, telling the group that Hajin was a little difficult to approach. Yeonha still stands on her claim, discussing how a mere sharpshooter managed to dodge a martial arts gift. The chapter concludes with a menacing twist. Yeonha, the senior Yeonha defended earlier, sends her a polite message to meet, but the final panel reveals him covered in blood with a sinister grin, exposing him as the true villain. Hajin reflects on his routine of exercise, hunting, and stock investing, which he uses to keep his mind occupied and avoid melancholy. He finds the typical behavior of the high schoolers around him to be cringe and reminds himself that he needs to stop wasting time and focus on returning to his original home. Outside, Chae Nayun returns to school on crutches, stubbornly refusing help from Kim Suho despite her clear physical struggle. Inside the classroom, Yeonha sits quietly as the teacher announces that midterm exams are only a week away. The teacher explains that the practical exams will consist of duels between trainees and battles against summoned phantom beasts. While Hajin is confident about the written portion, he is wary of the duel system, which uses nomination tickets. Although a compensation point system exists to prevent high rankers from simply bullying low rankers for points, he knows some aggressive student, whom he calls muscle brains, will use their tickets just to beat up people they dislike. During the lecture, he notices Rachel is sitting unusually close to him. She is typically a loner, but she seems to be hanging around him and perhaps even peeking at the notes he is writing, which contain his parents' name, Yoo Yeonha and Kim Hajin. The scene shifts to Yoo Yeonha receiving a message from Yeonha, an older student, Sunbae, inviting her to a study room. When she arrives, the room is empty of other club members, and Yeonha has lit a scented candle that he claims helps with focus. They begin discussing the demonic human search team, and Yeonha asks if there are any suspects or anyone saying stupid thing. As the candle smoke fills the air, Yeonha feels an eerie sense of peace. She mentions that someone actually accused Yeonha of being a demonic human who uses psychological magic. Yeonha laughs and reflexively asks if that person had evidence, a slip-up that immediately puts Yeonha on high alert. She realizes that an innocent person wouldn't ask about evidence first. They would simply be confused or deny it. She draws her weapon and demands to know what he is, but the room transforms into a dark, nightmarish space as Yeonha's true, sinister nature emerges. He tells her it isn't her turn yet, and the scene cuts to the cube's second-year dorms later that night. Yeonha wakes up tied to a chair with thick ropes, realizing she has been kidnapped and is being held in the second-year dorm area. She realizes with horror that Hajin was right all along and that Yeonha is the culprit behind the recent missing person cases. As she desperately hopes for someone to save her, Yeonha appears behind her and warns her not to struggle. At that exact moment, Hajin is startled awake in his own room by his phone. He looks down to see a notification on his screen, a call or message from Yeonha. Yeonha snatches Yeonha's wrist messenger, asking her what her friend would think if they received a gibberish text message in the middle of the night. He muses aloud, wondering if Kim Hajin was the quick-witted person who suspected his identity, and casually decides he should kill Hajin later as well. Yeonha, defiant despite being tied up, shouts at him, asking if he thinks he can get away with this and warning that the search team has likely already noticed and is moving. Yeonha dismisses her threat, stating it doesn't matter because he plans to leave Cube entirely once this is over. He turns to her with glowing red eyes and a sinister smile, telling her he loves that expression, and addresses her by invoking his master, Lady Lilith. Meanwhile, Kim Hajin is sitting on his bed in the dark when he receives a notification on his smartwatch from Yeonha containing only the number 9. Hajin is initially confused, wondering if she sent the message by accident, and mentally cycles through various interpretations of the number. He suddenly realizes that the number, pronounced Gu in Korean, is the start of the word for save. Acting immediately, he activates his ability, the Book of Truth, and demands to know Yoo Yeonha's current location. Meanwhile, back in the captivity room, the captor looms over Yoo Yeonha, telling her that she has been lonely enough and claiming he knows that feeling too. The villain compliments Yeonha's strong willpower, expressing surprise that she hasn't been brainwashed yet despite everything she has endured. He tries to coax her into giving up, telling her to let her mind go and that she doesn't need to be afraid because Lady Lilith gave him permission just for today. As dark energy swirls around him, he whispers that Lilith wants her as well, causing Yeonha to groan and struggle against her bindings. He mocks her resistance, saying it is no use even if she loosens the ropes because there is nowhere to run in the face of Lady Lilith's magic power. Suddenly, a streak of blue light smashes through the window and strikes the villain, causing him to scream in pain as blood spatters from his shoulder. Yeonha mocks herself, pointing out how he ended up in this state after doubting someone she should have trusted. The villain, furious and confused, shouts into the empty air asking who is attacking him, only to be told to forget about recovering because the bullet is specially made and requires surgical removal. Enraged, the villain curses and demands the attacker show himself, but he is met with a barrage of energy bullets raining down on him. The attacker, Hajin, advises the villain not to waste his strength, and when the villain screams asking where he is, Hajin calmly replies that he is extremely far away. Hajin is revealed to be perched on a distant rooftop with a large sniper rifle, firing shots that travel across the night sky. Another shot hits the villain squarely, knocking him to the ground as he coughs up blood. Watching through his scope, Hajin remarks with satisfaction that this is why long-range sniping is the best strategy. Hajin then mutters to himself, or perhaps to Yeonha via a device, saying he expects a good reward if she has a conscience, noting that he will likely use up all the bullets she gave him by the end of the day. The wounded villain, realizing he is outmatched, curses and tries to flee the scene, but Hajin tracks him through his scope and fires again. After the shot, Hajin lets out a long sigh of relief. He then speaks softly over the comms, asking Yeonha if she is alright and admitting he saw something he shouldn't have. Lying exhausted on the floor, she weakly replies, yes. Hajin tells her to take a nap because the search team will arrive soon, and she thanks him before losing consciousness. Yoo Yeonha wakes up to find Kim Suho sitting by her bedside. Still groggy and confused, she asks him what he is doing there. Suho checks on her health, mentioning that the doctor found nothing wrong with her body, but Yeonha, frustrated, demands to know why he is present. Suho explains that he, along with Nayun, Jonghaek, and Horik, had been taking turns nursing her because they felt partially responsible for what happened to her. He admits they were distracted by other things during their search mission and apologizes for not taking better care of her as a teammate. Yeonha stares at him silently before asking if people often tell him he is stubborn. She internally reflects that she had misunderstood him. She used to think he was just a talented individual, but now sees him differently. Suho casually offers her a rabbit-shaped apple slice. Yeonha then hesitantly asks if that person, implied to be her savior, had come, but when Suho feigns ignorance, she quickly drops the subject. Later, Hajin receives a text from her thanking him and promising to repay the favor. Following this event, Hajin sees a massive boost in his capability. His system notifies him that his SP, story point, has increased by 457, with an extra 11% bonus due to his luck stat. He also receives a notification that his Deadeye mastery has reached grade 7, ensuring success in long-range sniping. Hajin is thrilled, realizing this is the highest reward he has ever received for a single action, confirming that influencing the main story arcs yields amazing results. The scene shifts to a meeting between Hajin and a man named Park Suyik. Suyik is anxious, fearing Hajin wants to withdraw from a contract, but Hajin surprises him by stating he wants to invest in Shish Entertainment. Hajin explains that he sold a ginseng root on the Violet Banquet for 400 million won. He has already put 250 million into a guild called Packhorse Masters, and now wants to invest the remaining 150 million into Suhyuk's company, believing it has great potential. Suhyuk is overwhelmed by the huge sum and hesitates, but Hajin insists, telling him to take it so they can both grow. Hajin asks for a magic pouch and a vehicle in return, and then asks Suhyuk's age. Learning Suhyuk is 29, Hajin asks him to speak casually, only achieving this after jokingly threatening to pull the investment. They leave the office and stop at a convenience store, where Hajin buys scratch-off lottery tickets. He explains that as a minor, he needs an adult to claim prizes. He immediately scratches a winner worth 20 million won, leaving Soo-hyuk in shock and paranoid that someone might steal the winning ticket. So Hajin invests it into Soo-hyuk's company. Meanwhile, in a dark industrial warehouse, a mysterious group is plotting. A shadowy figure, referred to as boss, emerges and is informed by a subordinate that Packhorse Masters has been listed. The boss decides they will steal a specific item and leave everything else. The subordinate mentions a strange occurrence. Someone, Hajin, has been aggressively buying stocks in Packhorse Masters, investing huge sums without even checking the guild's fortune. The boss dismisses this curiosity to focus on their mission. The subordinate, a boy named Droon, then mentions a truth agency on the Violet Banquet that seems suspicious and jokes about hiring them to find a certain person. The boss silences him with a sharp glare. Shifting topics, the boss notes that Cube Academy's midterm exams start the next day and that the top-ranked students, Kim Suho and Shin Jonghaek, are the ones to watch. She confirms she will personally participate in an infiltration mission during the exam, thinking to herself that she hopes to find someone useful there. At Cube, the atmosphere has transformed into a festive celebration as the practical midterm exams begin. Families gather to reunite with trainees, and the streets are filled with people cheering for the virile sons of Korea and the Veritas class. This week is significant because Cube opens its doors to the public, allowing hero employment agencies and guilds to scout for new talent. Scouts are seen aggressively looking for trainees in the top 100 ranking, while reporters cover the event in multiple languages. Among the crowd, Kim Hajin is busy deploying surveillance drones he received as a gift from Soo-hyuk. He hopes these drones will help him detect any potential intruders during the busy week. However, while lost in thought about his security measures, he accidentally bumps into a woman in the crowd. His heart sinks as he realizes he has run into boss, a powerful figure he forgot would be attending the practical exams. Panicked by the accidental eye contact and trying to look unsuspicious, Hajin's mind goes blank, and he accidentally blurts out that she is so pretty before quickly moving on. The woman, who is the leader of the chameleon troupe, is suspicious because Hajin was able to see her clearly despite her wearing a perception blocking item known as the Siren's Necklace. She immediately orders her subordinates to investigate him. The narrative reveals that the chameleon troupe is infiltrating Cube to scout top trainees like Kim Suho or Shin Jonghaek. Hajin worries that if the story deviates from the original path and the troupe starts fighting the Academy's security heroes, it could lead to many deaths. Meanwhile, the actual security heroes of Cube, such as Seo Youngji and Oh Junhyuk, are patrolling the ground. While Oh Junhyuk is more interested in getting pizza and complains that he doesn't see anyone suspicious, Seo Youngji warns him to take the job seriously. Hidden from their view, members of the chameleon troupe watch Hajin. One hot-headed member wants to pick a fight with him immediately, but he is told to stay put and observe Hajin's performance in the upcoming duels to see if he truly has potential. As 9 a.m. approaches, the crowd gathers at the arena for the start of the practical duels. In the trainee weighing room, Yeonha approaches Hajin, who is scheduled for the first match. She hands him a case containing 100 top-grade bullets as a gift. She explains that while he cannot use them during the exam, she wanted him to have them, insisting she isn't just trying to pay him back for saving her life during a previous incident. Yeonha also mentions that she has kept it a secret that Hajin was the one who provided supporting fire during the demonic human incident. Hajin is relieved and asks her to keep hiding that fact because things would get complicated if people knew he was the one who shot Yoon Yeon. Yeonha warns Hajin that while she understands he is hiding his true strength, he needs to be careful because his current opponent is formidable. Inside the trainee weighing room, Hajin's opponent, a massive and muscular man, is shown aggressively lifting weights and vowing to crush him.